Like, this is a community that doesn't know what murder is. They don't have any clue how to handle, public relations. It just doesn't really exist. So we're getting through it together, and it's getting. It's hard to say it's getting better, but they are communicating, and we're trying to like protect our children and protect all the families and protect the survivors to make sure that we don't have these trolls that are attacking them for no reason.
In our last presentation, you heard for yourself. Evidence. New evidence happening approximately 3:45 in the morning. From the Ring Cam at 1112 King Road, one house away from where 4 murders took place. This is an ongoing investigation. We do not have the complete truth. The 4 slain students deserve the world's pursuit of a confirmed united truth with all of its pieces in place, which at this time, we do not have. So we know that Dylan Mortensen entered a new contact into a phone, and we also know that 25 seconds later Molly McMichael is seen walking from 1122 King Road as she holds her phone to her ear and then turns back towards the house again. We believe that the vehicle that she arrives in is the vehicle that drives her away. We believe that prior to Molly's arrival, around 3:40:02 and again at 3:40:09, there may be a male softly checking on Ethan, calling his name softly.
Shocking new revelations in the brutal murders of 4 Idaho college students last fall. A new report claims the 2 roommates who survived the massacre were awake and texting each other while their 4 friends were stabbed to death one by one. This new revelation reportedly coming from grand jurors on the case and leaked to family members. Now, the only suspect, Bryan Kohberger, is still awaiting trial. According to the probable cause filing, one surviving roommate says she witnessed the killer, described as having, quote, bushy eyebrows, walking past her and then out of the home. Prosecutors say they do have Kohberger's DNA found on a knife sheath left under one of the victims, and the judge has entered a not guilty plea on Kohberger's behalf. Let's bring in Misty Maris, legal analyst and trial attorney. Misty, thank you so much for your time. So this is a new twist. It allegedly comes from grand jurors in the case, but no one is going on record. What was your initial reaction to this potential bombshell?
As far as this is concerned, it's really difficult to verify whether this information is actually true. So let's go through a little bit of the history of the case. When the news first broke about this terrible, tragic killing, we learned that there were 2 roommates who survived the attacks who were in the house at the time. Now, at first we heard that they were both asleep. They didn't wake up till the following day. Then hits the probable cause affidavit. Well, the story begins to change. One of the roommates now had this encounter where she sees the assailant in the house that evening. So this is a dramatic change from the information that was set forth in that probable cause affidavit, if it were in fact the case that the 2 roommates were awake and texting during that time. So what does it mean for the case? Well, that would certainly be contemporaneous evidence relayed in those text messages as to what the 2 roommates heard and saw that night. Now, again, we haven't verified whether or not this is true, and we likely won't know until the trial actually unfolds. But it would certainly be a game changer for the prosecution.
On the night of April 28, 2019, when West Chester police received a frantic call regarding a possible murder spree, law enforcement became involved in one of the most gruesome cases the city had ever seen.
Saying someone's banging the doors. Okay, all right, stay back here for me, okay? All right. This guy in the car? Let me see your hands. Hands. All right, hands. Let me see your hands. Hands. Down on the ground. Lay on your belly.
Minutes after being dispatched, police officers arrived at the apartment complex, only to find the caller, 41-year-old Gurpreet Singh, who appeared extremely startled, emphasizing that something horrific had happened to his family.
Anybody else in there except for your family? No. got coverage on him? Come up here and get lethal coverage on him.
I'm not
You
going
got it,
anywhere.
go.
Please help them.
We got you, we got you.
Please help them. Please help them.
Once officers stepped into the apartment, they were met with exactly that sight of horror, as they discovered 4 victims, later identified as the caller's wife, his mother and father-in-law, and his aunt-in-law, all of whom had been brutally gunned down, execution style. Although Gurpreet claimed he came home to find his family dying, officers not only found no signs of forced entry or robbery, but they also realized the killings were eerily methodical. Multiple victims were found dead in their bedrooms. Some appeared to have been executed point blank while they slept. To the officers, it was clear. This wasn't an erratic killing spree. It was cold, calculated, and deliberate.
And I know that I've already asked you this, okay? But we're gonna start from the beginning. We're gonna put some exact times to this, so Gary and Randy here can say we were here at this time. These people were here at this time. These people were here at this time. I did this at this time. I did this at this time, okay? And then I found my family murdered, okay?
So you're saying someone killed my family?
I think so. I think so.
Why?
I don't know. That's what you're here to help me. Okay. Hey Gary, did you have shoes when you came here?
No.
You didn't have any on?
My shoes at home.
Okay. Where did you take your shoes off at?
My shoe came off when I was going. I do only really loose shoes. I don't.
Okay, what kind of shoes were you wearing?
My truck shoes.
And you're saying that sometime when you were running around, they fell off?
Yeah, they came off.
It's just before 2 a.m. on September 13th, 2023, when Officer Alex Reich gets a call from dispatch to do a wellness check at the home of Norma Carricker. Her son, Neil Howard, has just called 911 and said that he went to check on his mother after she had come back from a date and she was not responding.
What's up?
I hear the dog whining from the basement. Mom tells me screws up the kitchen that she's got a date on the way.
Okay.
And she works like 3 jobs. This is the way I was raised. So I spruce up the kitchen, take all the laundry off the kitchen table, throw it in the laundry room. I don't want to see nothing. I guess it's that date on the computer, on the tenders or whatever. I don't know. I'm afraid to go in that room. I hear the dog whining in that room.
So you live here, sir?
I live in the basement, man. I opened heart surgery a year and a half ago.
Okay. So what is your...
So I'm about to move out this weekend. Okay. Everything went silent. I hear the guy go out the back door.
The other thing that's also true is that, well, those photographs, 20 that I talked to you about, I was the one that was the photographer. I was the one that was taking those photographs. I was the one that talked him into standing and posing for me. He really didn't want to pose for me. He thought it was just not his cup of tea. But, you know, he sort of did it for me. And so I began to take the photographs of him. As I'm taking these photographs of him, I hear this loud noise. And something hits me. And I really can't, I don't know if, I think I went unconscious. I'm not sure I went unconscious, but I think I did. And then I realized that Travis is hurt. I don't know how it happened, but I realized that Travis is hurt. And he's on all fours. And he's saying, help me, or words to that effect. He can't get up. And I'm trying to help him. I'm trying to do the best I can to get him out of there, to get him up so we can leave. That's what I'm doing, she says. I'm trying to do the best that I can. But he can't seem to get up because there's a problem with his legs. He says he can't move. Well, while I'm trying to do this, I realized that, and again, I didn't tell you yesterday because I was afraid, but what is going on is that there's these two individuals. First, she really doesn't know what their sexes are, but comes around and says, it's a man and it's a woman. Not only is it a man and a woman, but all I could see are their eyes. I can tell you, I guess, she said that they're Caucasian. Maybe she can tell you that. But other than that, I don't have any way of identifying who these attackers are. And according to them, it appears that I surprised them, that I shouldn't have been there. Because one of them said words to the effect that, you know, that's that girl from California. I wasn't supposed to be there, that these people were designed to take care of Travis for whatever reason they had. And I don't know what that reason is. They were there to do him harm. Well, what kind of weapons did they have? Well, she said, I think they had 1 or 2 guns. I'm really not sure. All I know is that I was focused on Travis. I had been hit myself. I didn't know what to do. And so what happened then? Well, Travis kept saying to go to the neighbors for help, but I didn't want to leave him there. And at one point, what I did was that I was able to, and it depends on what point the story is picked up, but I pushed the girl who was there, and I was able to get the better of her, and I was about to run out, get out and go get some help, except that I was then confronted by the guy. And the girl kept saying, well, just do her, and the guy didn't want to do it. But I had the gun straight at my face. And this gun that was pointed at my face, well, he pulled the trigger. And for whatever reason, Providence perhaps, gun didn't go off. But I was very worried still about Travis, and I needed to get him out of there. When the gun didn't go off, well, this guy started looking through my purse. And lo and behold, in my purse, believe it or not, I happen to have my car registration that shows my address, because that's what I carry around. So they knew, they being this guy, knew exactly where I lived. And he said to me, well, if you tell what happened here, the same thing's going to happen to your family. So she then told the detective, how could you expect me to say anything? At some point, she also indicates that she is fighting with the woman. She claims that she's barefoot, and that the woman may have hit her feet, but she was able to hit the woman also. The detective asked, well, what about a knife? Did a knife ever come up? She said, I think the woman was the one that had the knife. And when you were going through all these things, and she says everything happened in the bathroom, when you were going through all these things, what was Travis doing? What was going on with Travis? Well, he was alive. It looks like he was really in a lot of pain. But there wasn't anything I could do because he couldn't get up. I tried. I did the best that I could. I fought with the girl. I had the gun pointed at me. I mean, they already knew where I lived. Just by looking at it, they knew my address, and they, I guess, had committed to memory. So I was worried about my family. So there was nothing I could do. So what happened next? Well, I was able to pick up my purse. And the police did not find any articles of clothing there from her. I was able, she said, to pick up my purse, run out of the house, run downstairs, and nobody chased me. And then I was able to get in the car, and I was able to drive away and make my getaway. Why didn't you call the police? She was asked. Well, don't you know? My phone wasn't charged up.
I ain't pick up the phone. All that shit that I'm on. Already sick of this song. I ain't pick up the phone. All that shit that I'm on. I'll probably end up alone. My bad, my phone died. new sheriff. We need to talk to you about where you were at midnight. Would you care to share? I'm sorry to bother you, it's awfully rude. We just want to talk to you. Did you happen to watch the news? The divorced dad killer's back on the loose. At the crime scene, left lots of clues. Dropped his tools, lost both socks and shoes. Somebody saw the dude and said he looked like a methed out prostitute.
Park out there on the side. I just want to get everything back in. Be easier, so loading everything out there, all the tools that I had to bring in. Slow down. Just come here. There's two. Looks like fatalities. Okay, how old is Ethan?
I apologize. There's a door downstairs next to the bathroom that's got a padlock on or a lock on it. You guys?
We don't know.
Okay. Who has access to that room? Okay. Yeah. So it's not something you guys normally do?
No, we have no idea what it is.
Thank you, guys.
10% power. 30% power. 50% power. 60% power. 80% power.
It certainly would, Misty. And we know that there is, a gag order in this case. That's, a fact that we need to remember. So what happens if someone keeps leaking information, whether or not it's true, and even if they're doing it anonymously?
If the leaker is a grand juror, there are very, very strict rules about what grand juries can say in the public sphere. Now, those rules change jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but Idaho has a similar rule to New York. Grand jurors are not allowed to speak to anybody about the evidence that they see in the courtroom, about the deliberations as far as coming to that conclusion of actually coming back with an indictment. So this would all be completely off limits if, in fact, a grand juror was leaking this information. And there could be serious repercussions. It could be contempt of court. It could put the whole indictment at issue, depending on the nature of the communication. So that is certainly a problem. The gag order is really far and really expansive with respect to the prosecution, the defense, and any statements made or evidence that comes into the public sphere. So yes, there are very serious repercussions as far as contempt of court type charges and even jail time that could be associated with that. Now, that being said, anonymous leakers are sometimes, number one, difficult to verify and sometimes difficult to identify. So it truly depends on the nature of the communication and whether or not that person can actually be tracked down. But keep in mind, anything that comes out in the public outside of the courtroom could potentially find its way into the trial, depending on how this happens and how the information has come to light.
That's why we have all this sealed stuff, and we're still fighting for the information to come out when it's just 4 kids that got killed in their bed. You know, there's no top secret information here. There's no national security. It's literally people thinking that they don't work for us anymore, guys. They think that we are lucky to be in that courtroom, and they're like a form of royal bloodlines, and they sit there in that courtroom and they tell us how it goes, and how dare us question them, and how dare us know what's going on, and question what they're doing. And I appreciate the media because it's one thing an angry dad saying that. It's a different thing for ex-prosecutors to get on your guys' station and say, this is questionable, why'd they tear the house down? There's literally the 1112 video is referencing sounds in that house. So, it could easily be that a jury wanted to reproduce what those sounds would have sounded like on that camera, and they couldn't do that once the house was torn down.
On July 9th of 2025, the state filed this motion to seal the state's Exhibit S1 in response to the defendant's 24th supplemental request for discovery. Ashley Jennings goes on to assert that the motion to seal is made on the premise that the substance of Exhibit S1 contains information that would constitute an unwarranted invasion of personal privacy, pursuant to Section 74-125 of the Idaho Code, which honestly does not exist as it is cited in the motion. The information requested by the defense is pursuant to state witness, Molly McMichael, your DoorDash driver whose DoorDash delivery to the King Road residence took 15 minutes to deliver on the morning of Sunday, November 13th, 2022. It's interesting to learn that the Goncalves family and their attorney tried to contact the DoorDash driver, Molly Segota McMichael, on more than one occasion. The Goncalveses heard the audio from the Ring camera at 1112 King Road that revealed a hostile commotion at 3:45 a.m., only to cease minutes after. In any case, the state disclosed proof that this correspondence took place, but not until July 7th, just days after Kohberger's change of plea hearing. In the state's response to the defendant's 24th supplemental request for discovery, where Exhibit W is concerned, filed with the court on June 25th, each item will show that the defense had Molly McMichael in mind, whereas the state had simply pardoned the portion from the 1112 Porchlight Ring Cam video and all that it revealed. It's safe to say that even until now, the state has yet to fully hand over item number 442. Copies of all email communication between the Goncalves family, their legal representation, and the Latah prosecutor's office relating to Molly DoorDash driver Segota McMichael. Why do the Goncalveses continue their charade? They run to the media, anyone who will listen to their gripes, just to complain about something or someone new, disseminating more information about the extent of Kaylee's injuries while continuing to attach Brian Kohberger's name to it. One question remains. Why did Steve Goncalves and his attorney-at-law, Shannon Gray, attempt to contact Molly DoorDash, witness for the state? How much of Goncalves' controlling behavior from the very first day of this process constitutes a blatant obstruction of justice?
I know how powerful it is. I know how good it is. I had no clue who I was looking at. I had no clue what I was looking at. I just seen cars. I seen a white Elantra. I seen it come and go. I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't even know what the time of the crime line was.
And I want these type of killings to stop. And you don't do that with weak prosecutors. And this man is extremely bad at his job. And just yesterday, we asked AI, what are the safest countries in the world? And out of the top 10, every single one of them have the death penalty. Well, 8 of them have the capital. So for somebody to think that capital murder doesn't work, well, the safest countries in the world use it, and they don't use it like how.
Who was driving that white car that was continually creeping about the King Road area as early as 11 p.m. on the eve of the murders? There is a divided camp among us. One camp pushing two possible theories. One theory is that the vehicle that we see entering and leaving the King Road residence over and over until a final time at 4:20 is a 2013 Lexus ES. This theory also holds that the driver of the creeping white vehicle is connected to the house at 11:22. They have access to the house, and nobody would question their presence at the house. See the two images below of the white car driving east on King Road. Note the car's rear passenger side windows and how rounded they are compared to the passenger side windows of an Elantra that are more in the shape of a teardrop. This is at 3:38 a.m. At 3:40 a.m., the rounded windows are leaving. You can see the driver's side rear window, which is also rounded, similar to the 2013 Lexus ES. In this next frame, carefully look at what we believe is the left rear taillight belonging to the 2013 Lexus. Here's a better look at a stock photo of the same rear taillight. Can we agree that the two taillights are similar in their shape? The time is now 4:06, and that rounded rear window on the driver's side is driving away from 1122 King LLC. The driver drives to the corner of King and Queen, makes a three-point turn, and it is here that you have an adequate comparison between suspect vehicle 1 and the illustrated 2013 Lexus ES. At 4:20, we see the last of the white vehicle as it has finished its task inside of the King Road residence. This is the end of theory number 1, relative to the white or light-colored sedan that theory 1 calls the Lexus theory. The second of two theories on the white car's driver uses the MPD Supplemental Investigative Reports, numbers 52 and 88. Let's begin with Supplement, or rather Sequence 52. We will call it Car Fusion for the time being. The author of this report was and still is Corporal Brett Payne. Payne is performing some test runs at around 5 p.m. in Moscow, Idaho. It's Thanksgiving Day. The sun was down at approximately 4:06 p.m.
At approximately 1700 hours on 11/24/22, I took the MPD school car, a silver Ford Fusion, and drove the route of the suspect vehicle. I drove two separate routes in front of the camera located at Ridge Road, once westbound on Louder Avenue, and then twice on Ridge Road, southbound and northbound. I advised the command post of the times of these runs and requested the video from the point of contact at Ridge Road in order to compare the color of the test vehicle to that of the suspect vehicle. Once I completed these runs, I drove to 1122 King Road and walked the route that Molly McMichael stated she took while on foot near the house on November the 13th of 2022. I also parked the MPD school car on Queen Road immediately to the east of 1122 King Road in order to observe the effects of the orange-tinted streetlights located in the area. The lights appeared to make the silver vehicle look tanner in color than it would under white streetlights. I also walked down and spoke to Officer Tesdall, who was providing scene security at this time. I spoke to Officer Tesdall for a moment, and then began to walk back to my patrol vehicle. As I did so, I noticed a black glove laying in the parking lot approximately 25 feet from the front door. The glove was laying palm up, and appeared to have been laying in that spot for a couple of days, as it did not have any snow on it. I nudged the glove with the toe of my boot, and found it was frozen to the ground. I asked Officer Tesdall for rubber gloves and his flashlight. Upon further examination, there appeared to be a dark, fluid-like substance on the glove. This substance color and consistency was consistent with dried blood.
Officer Tesdall provided me with an evidence bag, and I collected the glove as evidence. The glove is a Polar Penguin brand glove with a rubberized palm and fingers. This type of glove is often used for concrete work. I brought the glove back to MPD and booked it into MPD evidence for submission to the state lab. The videos of the vehicle test runs were later collected and added to the FBI video files for this case.
In Sequence Report 52, Brett Payne uses a silver school car to create the image that he has in mind, which is the image that he needs the public to see. We can just as well refer to the suspect vehicle as the subject's vehicle. He looks for ways to create a reality that will suggest that Bryan Kohberger came to King Road and committed the quadruple murders when in fact, by way of opinion, the white or light-colored sedan that frequently checks on the 4 victims throughout the morning of November 13th, 2022, to see if the killer's victims are dead and gone yet, so they can be placed to stage a future scenario, is actually the one who should take responsibility for the killings. Why would he want to test a silver car under different colored lights or see how the silver car looks on CCTV? On the other hand, which lighting could we use to imitate subject Kohberger's car? How can we do this under the orange lamplight? What type of lighting would best suit the recreation of actions of the light-colored sedan that was out on the prowl until 4:20? Watch this video of Linda Lane at around 11:16 p.m. You can see 2 individuals walking on Taylor Avenue in front of Linda Lane. One seems much larger than the other as they play fight with one another, then continue westward towards the King Road area. Who is it driving the light-colored sedan that speeds after them like a bat out of hell? Who is driving that light-colored sedan? Is it Bryan Kohberger, the white Lexus? Or can it be the tireless silver school car on a bloodthirsty mission? I'm gonna test you. I'm gonna test your knowledge by seeing if you can tell the difference between a 2015 Hyundai Elantra and a 2013 Lexus 350 ES. You will see 6 photos. For each photo, you will have 8 seconds to guess whether the car you are looking at is either an Elantra or a Lexus. Are you ready?
One pill makes you larger, and one pill makes you small, and the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall. And if you go chasing rabbits and you know you're going to fall, tell 'em a hookah smoking caterpillar has given you the call. He called Alice when she was just small.
The second of 2 theories on the white car's driver uses the MPD's supplemental investigative reports, numbers 52 and 88. We'll begin with sequence number 88. Timing is perfect when it is obeyed to go ahead of you and not you before it. You will know when the time is right. It feels different from procrastination, for there is zero guilt when timing beyond reach is obeyed, than forced with the human hand. Sequence number 88 features Detective Lawrence Mowry, now Sergeant Dustin Blaker, and then Corporal Payne, who will always be Corporal Payne, as I have chanted time ago. On December 22, 2022, I was tasked with reinstalling the exterior camera, known as the light bulb camera at King Road, to capture some comparison video and audio. I contacted one of the tenants, TL, who gave me permission to access her residence and conduct the recording. If law enforcement had already collected the recording, why would they need to re-record, say, an event? I'm reasonable, but we don't do the same with CCTV recorded shoplifting or any other criminal act caught on film, do we? Mowry continues. Upon arrival, I unplugged the power to the current router and removed the camera from the light socket on the exterior of the residence. I then powered on the router I had secured from the residence earlier and installed the camera I secured as evidence earlier into the light socket. While installing the camera, I heard a crack and felt the light bulb base mount become loose. It should be noted the approximate temperature outside while installing the camera was between 5 and 9 degrees. Fahrenheit, I assume. I don't know who this TL is or was, but these police in Moscow need to consider their own expectation of privacy before treading all over another's. And this was before the world learned about all the wrongdoings in the Kohberger case. I previously had installed a new SD card into the camera and powered on the router and camera at the Moscow Police Department to ensure the camera was functional. I then was able to monitor the camera using the HomeEye Pro app on my phone. Corporal Brett Payne was able to drive a white-colored vehicle into the view of the camera. Sergeant Dustin Blaker parked a vehicle near the residence and closed the doors and trunk on a vehicle for audio comparison. A canine unit from Lewis County Sheriff's Office was utilized to capture barking audio comparison from the residents. This is what we call creating a narrative and backing it up with taxpayer-funded technology. In other words, cop toys. Cop toys are used for cover-ups, and we now know that Brett Payne was driving around a white vehicle. Was it a Ford Fusion by any chance? Upon completion of the data collection, I powered off the evidentiary router and removed the camera from the light socket. In doing so, the base detached from the camera and a wire became disconnected. How convenient. I gathered the router and camera, placed them back into their evidentiary bags, and returned them to the secure computer forensic lab. I reinstalled the current camera and reconnected the power to the new router. I contacted Elle to ensure she could access her camera, and she responded in the affirmative. She was like, "Yes, sir, you broke my ring cam." Oh boy. Corporal Payne and I then ensured the residence was locked. Oh, that's always reassuring to know that Brett Payne had been in my house without the use of home invasion tactics, and I don't even have a rear slider fastened by way of folding chairs. It's now a known fact that Corporal Brett Payne, lead detective, was able to access and drive a white vehicle either to simulate the claim of there having been a white vehicle in the vicinity of the King Road residence at 11:22, or to create the existence of a white vehicle to fit a created narrative in order to cover up what had really happened. How stupid are we? Remember, people, this was December 22nd, 2022. Brett Payne used a white vehicle to see how it would appear on camera. Let's take us back to November 24th, Thanksgiving Day. Thanksgiving Day? You betcha. We will now read about the silver vehicle used on camera. Silver for some reason. But first, why don't we see how you did on your car quiz? Here are the answers. Brett Payne wrote, or rather recorded, the events that make up sequence number 52 on December 4th of 2022, events which took place on Thanksgiving Day of that year, just 11 days after Kaylee Goncalves, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogen, and Xana Kernodle were killed between the hours of 12 and 4 a.m. on November 13th. On the fateful morning, roommates Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk were both spared, blessed for not having their lives taken, blessed to have been given more days on this blessed earth. Let us move on. I believe that they both have stories to tell, but in their time. It is not ours to tell. But as human beings, sophisticated as we may think we are, we will find a way to make truth known where we can see it, right? Wrong. It's not for us to tell. We can only be curious and bear fruits of this God-given attribute, desire for truth. There is nothing eventful that happened on Thanksgiving evening, except Corporal Brett Payne, God bless his soul as well, was conducting test runs, and he happened upon a glove on same day that Chris McDonough also found a glove. Listen to the narrative by Corporal Brett Payne. At approximately 1700 hours on 11/24/22, I took the MPD school car, a silver Ford Fusion, and drove the route of the suspect vehicle. I drove 2 separate routes in front of the camera located at Ridge Road, once westbound on Louder Avenue, and then twice on Ridge Road, southbound and northbound. I advised the command post of the times of these runs and requested the video from the point of contact at Ridge Road in order to compare the color of the test vehicle to that of the suspect vehicle. Question: does this mean that on 11/24/22, police believed that the killer drove a silver vehicle like the one that Payne was driving? The car that is being passed off as the white Elantra is not the same color as the white Jeep Wrangler. In addition, the rear side windows are too rounded to be an Elantra. My belief is that law enforcement went around getting permission from neighborhood residents to enter their homes to install cameras and ensured the right lighting, depending on whichever phase they were at in their project to create evidence. Otherwise, if you have it, you have it. If you don't, do not create it. It is my suspicion that the police had zero good faith evidence that was the result of Kohberger's involvement in the quadruple murders. It's a cold case. Admit it. Sequence 52. Brett Payne continues. Once I completed these runs, I drove to 1122 King Road and walked the route Molly McMichael stated she took while on foot near the house on 11/13/22. I also parked the MPD school car on Queen Road immediately to the east of 1122 King Road in order to observe the effects of the orange-tinted streetlights located in the area. The lights appeared to make the silver vehicle look tanner in color than it would under white streetlights. Question: under whiter lights, what color does the silver car appear as? Test runs were performed under both white lights and orange lights. In November, Brett Payne used a silver school car to do test runs. In December, he uses a white vehicle. Which were they trying to do more? A. Cover up the Lexus. B. Imitate the Elantra on King Road with rounded windows. C. Were they actually trying to cover up the silver school car that was spotted on Taylor Avenue from the Linda Lane cameras running down the 2 students? Building a case around a subject is the abandonment of justice. Were all of the Moscow players, witnesses, and some law enforcement forced to lie and make up stories, rather than stand up for their roommates and friends? Molly McMichael leaves the King Road residence at 4 a.m. after her arrival prompted sounds of a female pleading and begging, along with the sounds of forced violence. After Molly leaves, the ever-ominous white or light-colored vehicle, nestles itself behind the house at 11:22. This vehicle leaves at 4:20 a.m. Followed by a larger vehicle that also leaves at 4:24 a.m. This vehicle does not turn left on Walenta, but instead heads east towards Highway 95. Four minutes later, we hear the arrival of what seems like an SUV, which some believe is Hunter Chapin. If it is his vehicle placing itself at the residence, it doesn't necessarily mean that Hunter Chapin drove it there. Again, some people have said that the vehicle pulling into the King Road area at 4:28 is the brother of Ethan Chapin, Hunter. Others in the conversation have tossed around the notion that someone who is in the house somehow drove his vehicle to 1122 King to place law enforcement's attention onto Hunter Chapin rather than on themselves. Some say that it was Dylan, while more people have opined that it was Hunter Johnson who had parked Chapin's vehicle. But these and other names out of Sigma Chi have been scarcely substantiated outside of rumor.
not knowing
it's the end of the tunnel, you know, and it's been a long, dark tunnel, that's for sure. And you deserve to be out of it. You all deserve to be out of it. But I agree. I don't know what the answer is. What's on the other side for you and your family? This has been you've had a new identity for the last 2.5 years. What will it be after?
Yeah, and I've told people before, but my wife and my daughter, Kaylee and Maddie, they all love that true crime stuff. And I always thought to my back of my head, like, I ain't going to get caught watching any of that stuff because that's somebody's real family. That's somebody's real dad or somebody's real mom or that's their wife, you know, and lo and behold, it happens to me. So
one thing I will say at CrimeCon, I had a real epiphany from John Ramsey, John Bonet's dad. And he said that he would avoid a lot of that for a long time. He thought it was so macabre, you know. And then he realized when he was at CrimeCon, how many people loved him and how much support he had and how many people are dedicated to justice, you know, like the real true crime fanatics are in it. Not everybody, but a lot of them, a majority of them are in it for the justice. And that made him feel a lot better. He suddenly felt a sea of love that he didn't even know existed before. And that made me feel really good. I felt for a guy who's been through what he's been through for 30 years, made me feel a lot better for him. But,
yeah, I'm sure
but you're in the club, right? You're in the club.
And I'm sure that guy had it even worse than most because
Where is your emergency? Oh my God! My husband's friend is dead. We came to visit my husband's friend, and his back door was cracked open. And he wasn't answering his phone, so we came in the house, and he's in his basement.
Okay.
Oh my God!
Okay, calm down. Did you say he's dead?
I think so. Oh my God! I think so. He's on the floor. There's blood everywhere.
What is his name?
Oh, Brad McGarry.
Brad McGarry?
Brad McGarry had been brutally murdered with 2 gunshot wounds to the back of his head. When the police got there, Cherry and David were waiting outside the house, clearly shocked by what they had just witnessed.
Police. What's going on? 515th Street.
What's going on there, ma'am?
We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old.
How long ago was this?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's gone.
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Kathy Ramsey? I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been gone?
No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Okay, well,
there's somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath,
Please,
okay?
hurry.
Patsy. Patsy.
911 location of your emergency.
Something is happening. Something's happening in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the
rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the White, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What's your phone number?
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night, and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. Hi, this is.
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, Bethany, we gotta go check. But we have to. Did you pass out? She's not waking up.
Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and how old is she?
She's 20.
20, you said?
Yes, 20. Here's one.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Okay, sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
You talk to them, okay? I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them.
Hello?
Okay. I've already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
Say that again? There's a police here right now.
Okay. If there's a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
We don't have one. I think yes. Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, you have one.
Are you talking to the officer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you.
Okay.
Police were called to this property in Traer, Iowa, in the early hours of the morning and would come across an unimaginable scene. At the front of the house, they would come across 48-year-old Karina Cooper, and next to her was Aaron Cooper, her brother-in-law, who appeared to be comforting her. Inside of the property, the lifeless body of Karina's husband, Ryan Cooper, would be found sitting in a chair in the living area. Immediately, several red flags would jump out at police, but they had no idea of the sickening path this case was about to take. It was June 2021, and Ryan and Karina Cooper had been married for over 10 years. They had 3 children together, a lovely house, and were living the American dream. Ryan was a farmer and had started his own business with his brother Aaron called Cooper Farms. The company would specialize in the production of high-quality crops and livestock, and business was booming for the Coopers. Ryan worked hard and would often put in 10 to 14 hours a day to make sure there was food on the table for his family. Karina was a hairdresser and worked at a local salon. When she wasn't there, she would help out with the Cooper Farms business, usually helping with the bookkeeping. Like any couple, they had their ups and downs. The problem with Ryan and Karina was the downs far outweighed the ups in their lives. Every day there was constant arguing. Even something as trivial as running out of milk could start a full-blown meltdown between the two. In early 2021, Ryan had searched through Karina's phone and found messages from someone named Houston. The messages appeared to be romantic in nature, and Ryan would confront Karina, who would play it off as nothing more than a friendship between hairdresser and client. Ryan would snooze away in his chair, and Karina would go to the master bedroom with the two other children and go to sleep. At 3:31 a.m., Karina would send Houston a love heart, to which he would send a follow-up message only 2 seconds later. Houston sent something cryptic, a bizarre message telling her to send something after he had left the house. The messages back and forth would continue before Houston would send this message: "Remember those casings. Fucking remember those. No ifs, ands, or buts." Contact between the pair would cease at 3:32 a.m., when Karina had sent a message simply saying, "Go." What that meant and what would happen next is not exactly known, so you'll have to use your imagination. Minutes later, Karina would dial 911 and claim an intruder had just broken into their home. She would never mention any details to 911 operators about Ryan and the fact that he had been shot. The screaming and yelling from the living room had woken up their eldest son, who would wander down from his bedroom and come across the grisly scene. Karina would hand him the phone to talk to 911, while she frantically ran around before snatching the phone back and hanging up the call. When 911 dispatch would ring her phone back, she would reject the call and instead call Ryan's brother and partner in the company, Aaron, asking him to come over to the house. He lived about a mile away and would leave immediately, calling 911 on his way to the property.
I'm going to tell you in a minute. I just got a call from my sister-in-law that somebody's in their house.
Okay, someone's in our house. What's the
Yeah.
address?
It's K Avenue, 1846 K Avenue.
1846 K Avenue.
Yep.
What you got, Jamie? Okay, someone's in our house,
Yep, I'm just pulling in now.
and you're there.
I'm just coming in my driveway.
Okay, because that's up in Traer area.
Yep, yep.
I have a. What's your sister's name?
Karina Cooper.
Cooper? Karina?
Yep, yep. I am a firefighter. I got my lights on right now. I just pulled in.
Okay, but she said someone's in the house.
They're a bit hysterically.
Yeah, it's because we have.
I see the kids in there.
We have a female on 911 but can't understand her.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if that's her.
It probably is. I am armed. Do you want me to proceed? Okay. Yeah? Okay. Three kids just came out and told me to come out.
Okay.
I phoned the police, called 911 from the kitchen telephone, wall phone, hung up, dialed one set of our friends, hung up, and dialed another set of friends and asked them to come quickly to help.
Judge, this is one of the more heartbreaking, if not the most heartbreaking story I've seen in the last few years. We just have no leads here. Your experience in this space, what informs you, and how do you think about this?
Well, you know, the whole country is focused on this because most people think it's 2022. Why is it taking so long? Why don't we know what happened? First of all, I'm assuming that there's no eyewitness, none that we know of yet. So what does that tell you? That tells you the most important evidence is the forensic evidence. The forensic evidence that will identify who the killer was. Not only do we have from one parent that there were defensive wounds, okay, which means, you know, that the killer may have been in a fight and maybe he got cut, but we also know that the knife, which is a Rambo knife, was pressed into the hilt, which is where the bruising came from. So there were tremendous screams. There had to be a tremendous fight here. And yet, if you got a local police department that is responding to a call of someone being unconscious, what does that tell you? That tells you that these kids, the two who made the call, and now we know that the call came from one of their phones, the kids on the first floor, what did they see? How much of the room did they see? You know, why did they say unconscious as opposed to dead when there was blood running out of the house onto the outside of the house? And where did they get this unconscious from? Why are they saying that? Are there footprints in the bedroom on the second and third floor? If there was so much blood, then what you've got is a killer who certainly is stepping in the blood as he's killing these kids. But in addition to that, you've got the other two kids. You've got to eliminate their footprints. Then you've got the local police responding to unconscious. I guarantee you they didn't have any kind of slippers on, or they didn't have any idea that this would be a quadruple serial homicide. So they would have messed up the scene. And I don't mean to criticize the local PD. They can't be expected to understand how this stuff works. And 4 of them killed. Were they bound and gagged? Were they incapacitated with a drug? How does the other 2 kids not hear anything? How do the other 2 of the 4 dead not hear anything? I mean, I'm sure they were a happy gang that were drunk, but they were at that food truck a few minutes before. They were, you know, they were capable. They weren't dropping down drunk. And then finally, the one thing I want to say is that this should have been a case where the FBI was called in immediately. Their forensic evidence and potential is unparalleled.
They're involved now, though, right?
They are involved now, but it's too late. The crime scene has been contaminated, so that when we get to the trial, assuming someone is ever, and it may be they and not someone, it may be more than one person to bound and gag and stab and kill these 4 people who were young and would have put up a fight. Then the question is, the forensic evaluation that you have, the crime scene was contaminated. We don't know if it's his or hers or 8 other people.
Brian?
So we know eliminate the Uber driver or the community driver, eliminate that. The guy in the white shirt at the truck, we eliminate him. The roommates, we eliminate them. Oh, wait a second. So why are you eliminating them? What do they do to make you feel as though you're eliminated? And to your point is that I don't understand. They keep saying one of the phones, instead of just saying a roommate used the phone and made the call, they just say the phone was used. Well, who made the call on the phone? And what do you mean they were unconscious? You called somebody else because your friends were unconscious. How could you be bleeding to death and unconscious? That's impossible.
Dana?
Can I ask the judge a question as part of my time?
Yes.
I just wonder if you have this situation and you're putting together a profile, if somebody commits a murder of 4 people, would that be the first time they ever committed a crime? Or like, you know, we've seen before, like in the Colorado Springs shooting, there had been trouble and police interaction in the past.
So is this a first-time killer? I seriously doubt it. I really do doubt it. They keep saying he was sloppy. He was sloppy. What does that mean? Does that mean, you know, that he left footprints or fingerprints? Well, show them. Make an arrest. Get the DNA. Do it. Or does it mean that it was sloppy as a result of what happened? Kids sliding in blood. You don't know what happened, where they were found. But chances are you kill 4? Not for the first time.
Now, Lawrence, if I could, let me just take you back to Sunday morning, about 1:45. At that time, all 4 victims are back in this house. Now, there are two entrances to this home. One through that front door that has a coded lock. We've learned that at times that coded lock would be left off because a lot of people would come to this location for parties. And then there's a sliding back door. And Lawrence, there were two individuals in this home that was left untouched. Somebody the next day, around 9 hours after this incident was supposed to have taken place, called law enforcement.
There's a male that lives here, and
he doesn't actually live here. He's in the Louisiana, I believe.
He's in there right now.
But he doesn't live here, but he's here a lot. And then there's Maddie, Mogan, and Kaylee up top. I don't know where they're at though.
Maddie.
Mogan. Maddie. Mogan and
Maddie
Kaylee,
Mogan.
Yeah.
And who?
Kaylee Goncalves. She's the girl that I was talking about, Kaylee, who I just heard go upstairs and run back down the stairs.
Okay. And the guy that lives here, his name was what? He's usually
Ethan.
Ethan. And you knew he was here this morning?
No, I didn't know. I had no idea he was here.
So Ethan, how old is Ethan?
I believe he just turned 20.
20? And it's Chapin, C-H-A-P-I-N?
Yes, I believe.
Okay. Do you happen to know either of their date of birth?
No, I know knows Sienna's date of birth.
Okay. No worries. And Ethan's also a U of I student?
Yes, he is.
And you don't see him here right now? You see, but pretty sure he was in that room?
I think so. I think it's left told me. I don't know for sure.
Alright, and then the two additional roommates that aren't here right now?
They're not.
That aren't here with you.
Yeah.
What are their names?
Maddie Mogan, M-A-D-D-I-E-M-O-G-E-N. And then Kaylee, K-A-Y-L-E-E. Goncalves, G-O-N-C-L-A-V-E-S. I think that's how you spell it.
How old is Maddie?
She's 21. Or 21 or 22, I can't remember. They're both over 21, but I don't know exactly.
I think so. How old is Kaylee?
Over 21, I believe she's 21 or 22. Sorry, I don't fully remember.
It's okay. You're doing great.
Thanks.
Okay. I'm asking a lot of you, so I appreciate you. You're doing very well.
Do you know if the other two girls are upstairs or not?
Right now, what we got to do is we got to process this whole thing.
That makes sense.
stayed with you all that day and the following day. You felt that you were under their protection because you didn't know where this killer might have been. But it turns out that they were really scrutinizing the two of you, that you were already suspects. Did you have any idea then that you were suspects?
No,
None at all.
not at all.
It was reported also, Mr. Ramsey, that shortly after you found your daughter's body, that you called the pilot of your plane to arrange a flight to Atlanta. Is that true?
I did. We had been asked to leave the house. Within minutes of that happening, the police took the house over. We had nowhere to go. Atlanta was our home. We lived in Atlanta for 25 years. That's where our family was. We wanted to go home.
All right, who else lives here? Can I get your last name, please? Okay. Hey.
It's his brother's walking up this way.
Okay, you mind hanging out here, please?
know you're not
So why
telling
don't
me.
you say something?
I'm smarter than you, and I'm gonna find out what I want to know, whether you like it or not.
To a cop,
I just
the
wanna hear your
explanation is
story.
never that
You know
bad.
what I'm getting
It's
at,
always
Virgil, the
simple.
truth. Come on,
There's
Virgil,
no
who do you
mystery
think you're
in the
talking
street,
to?
no arch
I know
criminal
you know
behind it
something.
all.
Somebody with power.
There was a
somebody who
lawyer.
was capable of tracking us in New York. to Los Angeles.
It's Kaiser Soze. You think a guy like that is this close to getting caught and sticks his head out?
You get no guys to me. Because you're stupid, Verbal. Because you're a cripple.
What I want to know is who's the gimp.
You know the whole fucking time.
Oh, I know that. If he comes up for anything, he's going to get rid of me. But I'm sure Keaton is dead.
I can't feel my legs. Kaiser.
First thing I learned on the job, you know what it was? How to spot a murderer.
You tell me you got the cripple in there from New York.
Yeah.
He mentioned Kaiser Soze.
Who?
After that, my guess is you'll never hear from him again. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. And like that, he's gone.
Before your father,